To the Pastor's Podcast. Good to have you with me. It is Friday morning, February the 27th. 2 more days left in this month, and then Sunday. Boom, right into the month of March. And I always like the month of March. And I'll tell you why. Because it's spring campaign time, Old Paths Conference time, and always exciting being able to see what God can do through our work during this time. I'm encouraged about what God's going to do. Boy, I had a good day out last night, all day, really, yesterday. Yesterday morning, I was able to go out soul winning with my daughter. So we were kind of hitting the drive run there a little bit yesterday morning. And then I finally got somebody, and I led someone to Christ. They're supposed to be in church on Sunday morning. And she's having the dry run as well. And I have a staff meeting at noon every Thursday. And so I said, man, we got to get back. Got to get back. She goes, Dad, I got to go. Let me go one more. And so she went. I went, knocked on the door. I was able to lead 2 more to Christ. Then I couldn't find her. I go back to the car, grab the car, and finally I see her walking out. I said, did you get one? She goes, I got one. And boy, what a great lesson it is on just not giving up. I like her grit to be able to get out and see someone saved. She's a fine young Christian lady, and appreciate her and her testimony for the Lord. Continue on in face of adversity. What a good young lady she is. I'm proud of her, and boy, thankful for what God's doing in her life. And but now Sunday, the last Sunday, then last Sunday on this time zone or time, and then we get the time, the time bounces forward the following Sunday. And so we've got a lot of things planned at our church. Our spring campaign starts on March the 8th, which is Time Change Sunday. And I'll tell you next week what we're doing. I'll tell you on Monday, but not yet. I'm not going to do it until Monday, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. But we're going to have a great time. And excited what God's doing, and going to see God do some great things. Certainly pleased with that. Well, today, let's talk about encouraged because of the way. Numbers 21:4 says, and they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom, and the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. Israel became discouraged because of the way the Lord was taking them. They allowed the way to take their heart away and discourage them. Now, you would think if people would not have been discouraged because of the way, it would be the children of Israel. Let's face it, man, good night. These people saw God do some miraculous things. I mean, they saw God part the Red Sea. God gave them water from a rock. God defeated the Egyptian army in the middle of that Red Sea. God was giving them manna from heaven every day. He was leading them with a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They saw the plagues upon the land of Egypt, all 10 plagues they saw upon the land of Egypt. If anybody should have been encouraged because of the way, it should have been them. But instead, they got discouraged because of it. But many, we look at that and we criticize them, but many in our day have become discouraged because of the way of the old paths. Many have become accustomed to the blessings of God, what God is doing in their presence, resulting in them becoming discouraged because of the way, because they get used to the blessings. Those who have become discouraged because of the way of the old path start looking for new ways to do things, when they ought to realize the blessings they have presently are because of the way of the old paths. Let me explain what I'm talking about. When I was a boy, most churches were just not as fancy as they are today. We have some very nice buildings in our independent fundamental Baptist movement. We have our nice churches. We got, our churches our people have become, they look sharp as they come to church, and most of our churches look like museums. We've lost that pioneering spirit when we went out and started churches. And because of that, we got used to the blessings. We got used to people being saved. We got used to the auditorium looking pleasantly filled. We got used to that. Then we get discouraged because of that. But, you're seeing people saved or eating, you can become discouraged. Now, we've got to be careful that we don't become discouraged because of the way. Now, I want to give you several things you can do to stay encouraged because of the way of the old past. First, keep your eyes on the God of the way. Every person who has become discouraged because of the way took their eyes off God. You cannot focus on yourself and the world and stay encouraged because of the way. Anybody that says, well, I just got tired of this, you're telling on yourself because you got tired because you're looking at yourself and your own desires. The scriptures are clear that you cannot serve God and mammon. You can't do both. You're either going to hate the one and love the other, or you're going to hold to the one to despise the other. The greatest reason many despise the old paths is because they've taken their eyes off God to live a life in their own way. And normally that way is not a good way. God says our ways always end in death. Second, remember the power of the way. Now, you will find the power of God as long as you stay in the old paths. It will be easy to stay encouraged when you remember the privilege of having God's power on your life because of the way. God's power is only needed and will only be enjoyed if you stay on the old paths. So remember the power of the way. Remember the God of the way, the power of the way, and then remember the miracles of the way. All you need to do is look back and see all the miracles that God has done. Don't forget them now. And you're going to say, wow, look at all these miracles that this way has brought us. I think it's good to regularly take time to remember the miracles. God talked about that to Israel. In fact, he even got them a ribbon of blue so they wouldn't forget it. We forget that many would love to have the miracles that we have seen. It ought to be a regular habit to take time and remember all that God has done for us, because that's going to help us to stay encouraged because of the way. So don't forget the God of the way. Don't forget the power of the way. Remember that. Remember the miracles of the way, and then remember the blessings of the way. Enjoy the blessings. The old paths are what gives us, that's what gives us happy families with children serving the Lord, children that aren't in the world on drugs and fornicating and adulterating with everybody in the world. The old paths are what have kept us from sin and enduring the chastening because of sin. You see, every blessing we have is because of the way of the old paths. Remembering the blessings of God regularly helps us to stay encouraged because of the way. You see, if I keep my eyes, if I realize, if I enjoy the blessings, so I've got to remember the God of the way, and I've got to remember the power of the way, and I've got to remember the miracles of the way, and I need to remember the blessings of the way. But fifth, can I say, keep your eyes on the destination of the way. So the saints in Hebrews died all in faith because they saw the promises of faith afar off. Now, this is what's interesting. They never saw the promises become a reality in their lifetime. They did become a reality, but not in their lifetime. You keep your eyes on heaven and the rewards you receive, and at the judgment seat, and it'll not be hard to stay encouraged in the way. You see, the way of the old paths, they're great ways. The God of the way, the power of the way, the miracles of the way, the blessings of the way, and the destination of the way, they're all great. And you stay focused on those things. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to stay encouraged in the old paths, and nothing else is going to look good, because the old paths are what really give us those blessings. So I encourage you today. Let's stay focused on the old paths and let's do what's right. And God can bless us in a tremendous way. Well, my friend, I hope this challenges you and encourages you. But I want to remind you today, be good to everyone. Everyone's having a tough time.